Hello and welcome back. This is Poo Noob again with another indie game developer interview, and this time we have Hyperberry Games. So they recently launched a game called Otem's Defiance on Steam. So what's up, guys?
Hello.
So you're the first interview I did for this channel that has a webcam on.
Oh, nice. Good to know.
So you guys are special. So yeah.
Great.
You guys have a pretty cool, not say cool, pretty unique backstory. So I guess we can start off with that. Tell the people like where are you guys from? How did you meet each other, and how did you start the studio and stuff like that?
Okay.
Okay, first of all, we are all from Venezuela. We have parents that come from Spain or are of Spanish descent. And we came here because Venezuela is not in its best shape right now. And we moved to Barcelona separately. And eventually we met here. We had the same interest, making a video game about a year and a half ago. And we started our big dream here. Half of the team is still overseas there at Venezuela. And it's been a bit hard working like that. Right now, our country is suffering power outages and, well, many other things that make life pretty much difficult. But we love what we do, and we're making it.
Yeah, we managed to pull through even although the adversities of our home country.
Yeah, I read about the low prices in oil, and I think the public servants are getting 2 days to work, and that's
Yes. They're only working 2 days because
2 days a week.
the energy crisis is so bad that that's one of the ways that the government wants to deal with it instead of actually dealing with the true energy crisis.
cutting corners, basically.
That is not the actual reason, but that's what they're stating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
There's a lot of political agenda behind it. But
Exactly.
let's not get into that.
Yeah. Bit too much of it.
Exactly. Let's not dwell into that much into it.
yeah, no problem.
No, it's okay.
So introduce each one of you guys. Introduce
Okay.
yourselves.
Okay,
So-
from right to left.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Ricardo, also known as El Gran Buba. I am a concept artist for the Hyperberry team, and I am from Venezuela, like I said, of Spanish descent. And since I was born, I wanted to do concept art and illustrate. And this is actually my biggest step towards that goal. And I couldn't be happier of actually making it.
Nice.
Well, making it at the moment.
Well, in my case, I'm Juan Ayer. The people know me on the internet as Oni Moons. I'm the lead programmer. I basically coded most of Otem's Defiance, all the mechanics and everything. I also, of course, had help from one of our other developers who is in Venezuela, who did most of the enemy scripts and artificial intelligence for them, and attack patterns and such. It's funny because I didn't start as a programmer. I actually started just like Ricardo. I'm a graduate of illustration and graphic design. And I moved to Spain and I was offered a job as a web designer. And I kind of got into coding sort of through the web design experience. And eventually I realized that since I could do it, I might as well learn something that I actually like, which was to code video games. And I ended up liking it even more than I expected. So eventually we had sort of a meeting, all three of us, because we've been friends for a while and we already knew each other before starting the game. And I decided to take the lead role on development, specifically the programming. That's
Awesome.
mostly me.
He was terrible at the beginning.
Yeah, well, I learned a lot through.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we started from zero.
Yeah, mostly.
Much better than I could expect.
Okay, me. Well, I am Adox, like ADOX. My real name is Adolf, but everybody knows me as Adox. And I started off as a graphic designer, even though I really wanted to make video games, but that wasn't really an option as a career back in my country. So I went on as a graphic designer for a long time. And I did one Maya course early on, and thank you, because it changed my life. Because now I occupy the role of the 3D artist in Hyperberry Games. And also because I kind of knew how to think thanks to studying graphic design. I'm also the game designer, with a lot of help from the other guy in Venezuela, Elias, who's also the developer. And yeah, those are my two very different roles. And yeah, I guess I always wanted to make video games. It's a really tough industry to get into, but if you try hard enough, eventually after the years, you can make it. And here we are.
Awesome. So just to start off with a simple one, what games have you guys been playing recently?
Ooh.
Do you even have time to play?
Well, yeah, that's a problem. We don't have that much time to play recently since we're with the whole development of Otem.
Yeah, it's crazy, actually.
Yeah, the thing is that we don't only take care of programming, 3D artists, and concept art and illustration. We also handle the actual business part of the business.
Yeah, marketing,
financial, investment, legal, everything is by us.
Yeah,
with help also, but that help is just, like I said, help. It's mostly handled by us. So that leaves 0 to no time, actually. But we find time. We still find time to play and do stuff.
For example, I've been very addicted to Monster Hunter 4.
Nice.
I played with my sister and her husband. And before that, I played Fire Emblem Awakening, which left me in tears, basically. And I'm eagerly waiting for the next one. And I was playing, as for indie games, I was playing Titan Souls the other day. A very cool game. I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
In my case, I think the last game that I played was Life is Strange, which also left me in tears, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I played that one.
That's quite the emotional roller coaster. And currently, whenever I have some time, I'm playing Hyper Drifter, which I must say is a heavy inspiration lately because I really loved how that game is made. It's really, the artwork is just fantastic. I'm a big fan of pixel art, and that game really nails it with the whole aesthetic thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna break honest with you. I haven't played any indie games lately. But I enjoy playing GTA 5 a lot. The last indie game that I enjoyed to the bone was Braid.
Right.
Which is awesome. I like to congratulate the team that did that because I absolutely loved it.
It's an amazing game. It's an
amazing game.
So yeah, are you guys doing this like full time? Is this your full-time game?
We didn't start full time. I mean, the project itself at the beginning was, hey, let's learn how to make video games. We wanna get a bit more into this world. I want to learn programming. Adolfo wanted to do some 3D models and etc. And Ricardo sort of overheard the whole thing and also wanted to join. It's didn't overheard like that. I mentioned it at work, and you were like, "Oh, I'm interested."
Hell no, you invited me, man.
Okay, I invited you.
I remember.
Okay. So yeah, but eventually we started getting together on the weekends and just starting to work on the project. And eventually we had a prototype that was playable, that was like, it wasn't a full game already, but it was enough to get sort of the experience. And we showed it at this sort of development conference, which is they do every year here in Barcelona. The Professional Associated Developers Conference.
Yeah, the PAD conference.
PAD conference.
You should check it out. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's quite nice. And they were mostly indie developers, and I remember we got there. We were like the newbies in town, and everybody really liked the game. They were quite hooked to the mechanics and everything. So
and we ended up winning the first prize for the best game of the conference. That kind of gave ourselves permission to keep working on the game.
That helps.
Helps a lot.
Like you gotta test your idea over and over again, and you gotta correct it. And if the idea doesn't work, you just gotta throw it away and start with a new one. You shouldn't commit to something that's not working. So we gave permission to keep working on the game. Like, yeah, you can do it over the summer. You won.
Not only that, but we also started doing more hours. Like almost every day, we started working on that. It was hell because we had full-time jobs at the same time.
Right.
So we kept doing that for at least 3-4 months or something. I think it's
way more.
Yeah,
about it was 9 months.
Wait,
No.
Wait, what?
No, when we started working full time, it was about 5 months, and we decided to put it in Steam Greenlight to see.
4 months.
It was 4 months. Yeah. Eventually, we decided to put it on Steam Greenlight, and the response was amazing. We didn't expect that many people to to like it as much as they did, and we got greenlit about 11 days in after we started.
That's super fast.
Yeah, that was. We were quite surprised. I mean, especially because.
But we were super scared.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here.
Yeah, it's quite the experience. But yeah, once
checked
we
it every
got
hour, didn't you?
Yeah.
We checked it on the bus while shopping for groceries everywhere. It's insane.
It was crazy.
I lost an eye.
But yeah, and eventually, once we got greenlit, we sort of got the interest of a couple of small investors who were willing to put a little bit of money. And I mean, our budget was quite limited, but it was enough for us to quit our jobs and start working full time on this.
No,
and
when we say little money, we literally meant little money.
Yeah, like it's way scarce. I don't know if we should.
We're not like complaining or anything like that. It actually, I think we're proud of it because
it helped us a lot to find ways of reducing costs and I mean,
not only that, we managed to do well with that little money.
Yeah.
So
So and basically about 2 days ago we had our official launch. We're still working because we want to add more features and more stuff to the game, but so far the response has been good. The reviews on Steam are quite positive and seems that I mean we're going well so far.
I think in my opinion, what makes an indie game so unique and special is they tend to get a lot out of what they have, especially with finances and stuff. So they have to like find ways to work around like obstacles and stuff.
Yeah.
And the developers tend to find really interesting ways to basically solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
So where did you guys find your investors? Was it like a government thing, or was it friends, family?
Well, we started with the government at first, but they had some conditions that we didn't like, especially because it might mess with our creative freedom with it. So eventually we found then I can't say family per se, but they're close friends and close people that know us and were willing to help us a little bit with the project.
That was in the beginning. Then
that was the beginning.
We had 2 investors, so
the
other one was
so basically angels.
angel investors.
So tell the good people listening, what is Otem's Defiance? What is it about?
Well,
who wants to take this?
You go.
I'll go. Okay, in Otem's Defiance,
a pitch.
You take the role of a little boy who was chosen as a sacrifice for a ritual typical in his tribe, where you get thrown into these huge rings, and their deities, called the ring gods, start showing up in the middle of the ring, and they shoot you with many attacks until they finally kill you. But this little guy, Otem, is the first sacrifice to ever defy the ring gods back. So our game is a bullet hell where you run around the circular stages while shooting the ring gods and learning their attacks using power-ups, and after defeating them all, you move on stage after stage, discovering what's really hidden behind this hideous tradition.
What really goes on.
What really is going on, yeah. There's quite a deep story behind it. We tell it through animated comics and sort of make sense of all the mechanics and everything that you can see in the game. And I mean, it's quite interesting. We don't want to make many spoilers, but for those who are story-driven, it's quite an interesting story.
Nice, because it was very interesting that when I saw the game, it looks, you had like levels, and each level got that 3-star rankings system, right?
Yes.
And that system style is very common these days in like a lot of mobile games. And then when I read that it had like a huge backstory, I was really, really interested. So where did you guys get that idea from? Like, where did this game come from?
Wow.
Okay. First, I'm gonna show you something. Actually, I
Show and
remember.
tell.
Yeah.
I was at a video game business kind of class when I was participating at an incubator here in Barcelona. And sorry to say, I was really bored. And I was thinking about a new game design idea, something fast that made your hands itch to grab the controller. And I remember how tight Super Smash Brothers controls felt. Like, it's super cool jumping and dashing and everything. And I said, okay, but we need something limited since we were an indie studio. We need to do something small. And what if I just revolve one stage around, make it circular, and then you jump around there and you shoot something that's in the middle. So that was the first idea, and I wrote it on a Google Note, and I still have it here. And it's amazing because it's still pretty much what the game is today now that it is released.
Also that, because it's going to be worth
It's going to be worth millions. So that's basically where the idea came from. And the other thing that influenced it, at the time I was replaying all the very old Mega Man games. And in my mind, I had this weird vision of kind of revolving the Mega Man Robot Masters battles in 3D. So that the Robot Master would sit in the center and Mega Man would turn around, and you had to learn the patterns as you do in every Mega Man game. So that weird vision in my mind eventually kind of became the game.
And regarding the aesthetics and a bit of the story, we wanted to make something that had little bits of hints from Venezuelan culture, and also we really like the tribal aesthetic in general. So we sort of did a huge mix of many different cultures, not one specifically, but like taking small elements that were quite characteristic of them and sort of creating this cartoonish aesthetic, but sort of with a tribal background, if I may. We also have put a little bit of Easter eggs from Venezuelan culture in the game. Most people won't notice, but we know that our Venezuelan players will probably be in the game and be like, oh, that's from my country. That's part of my culture, and it's kind of interesting that we managed to develop a whole story around that.
Well, the way I remember it. No.
But yeah.
That was really, as the story goes. For me, at least, I didn't know any of this because I was working full time. And then when Juan came to me with this idea of making a video game, and this, I remember it was quite late. It was I wasn't 6 p.m. in the afternoon. I was about to leave, and then he came up with this. Not challenge, I was going to say opportunity. And he gave me like a few
background,
like we want this.
I told you about the story.
So no, like we want this and that. So can you design a character? And I was like, okay, I'm in it. And so I stayed in the office up until 9:30 in the night, and I gave him like 7, 8 ideas, and we started working from that.
Yeah,
and then we started growing from it.
Yeah, I mean, we fell so much in love with the story and the whole world that we decided to expand it a lot. I mean, we there's a lot in the story that is not necessarily told but inferred, and also eventually it became such a big universe that we even have ideas for sequels, and to like we would love to keep expanding this sort of franchise into something bigger.
Yeah, one of the main qualities of our game making. There were many things we kind of made up while we were working, but there were two main core values that we wanted to keep. First, make the game modular in every way possible. Like the ring of design, you can always design more. The stages are modular. You can make more stages with the pieces you already have, and that serves both as a way to make more with less. And since we're an indie studio with limited resources, you really need to keep it smart so you can make more.
Yeah.
And the other core value is that we want to do something that you can turn into a franchise. So we can keep pulling out of it, keep making it grow. Like we want to merchandise, we want to grow. So yeah, always do things you can turn into a franchise. That's what, for example, we have the ringlets are so colorful, and we all love Pokemon here, and that's an obvious influence we have. So yeah, you kind of collect the ringlets, you know, like in your mind, like, yeah, by defeating them, like, oh yeah, I've learned their attacks, I've learned their names, and you kind of fall in love with them.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big project for your first game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
You know how they say, man, dream big.
What made you guys so confident to go with it? Because like I think a lot of indie devs, they will give you like the three, maybe a few same advice, and one of the advice usually is start small. That's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
So like what made you guys so confident to go with something so big? Like you were thinking about even merchandising or franchising, sequels and stuff like that.
Well,
Well,
I can answer that. I think we started small.
Yeah.
And I think we are small at the moment. Thing is, we design a strategy, or our idea is to grow from it. So it's the analogy would be like a plant. We're just the seed right now, but we expect it to be much more, and hopefully it will turn into a tree.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, for this first version of Otem's Defiance, I mean, it's still quite manageable in size wise. When we talk about a franchise and to expand the world, is that we created something that we know if it keeps going well, and if we get a good response from the public, and if the people fall in love with the story and with the characters and everything, then it's not like this sort of story where where you cannot expand it further, where you already explored everything that the story had to give, and we sort of design it that way because we do want to make more, we do want to grow from that. But so far it's quite self-contained. I mean, it does look big at the beginning, but it's still manageable for our small team.
Right. And you mentioned about it being modular.
Yeah.
Have
Yes.
you thought about making a level editor or opening up to Steam Workshop modding and stuff like that?
Not yet, honestly.
I mean, we have ideas we can't really discuss publicly right now, but we've been thinking about things, and it's way more modular than what you think. So you're talking in the right direction, roughly. But yeah, we're thinking about these ideas, and we want to hear what the public has to say. Like,
Oh, definitely.
Because part of the creative process is obviously listening to the hive mind out there,
Right.
all the players, finding new ways of interpreting our creation.
Yeah.
So we want to listen, and from there kind of create together. But yeah, since it's modular, many things are coming.
Yeah, what you mentioned before about the about what sort of pushes through to keep going with such a big thing is also the response from the public. You know, on the PAD contest, on Steam Greenlight, and everything. All those comments have really pushed us forward to keep developing this game.
Right.
So
It kept you guys accountable, I guess.
yeah.
Yes.
So how's the feedback from the players so far?
Well, it's funny. The main thing that we get is that they get into the page, they buy the game, and they say like, "Oh, this seems like a really nice and easygoing game, and it seems casual from the outside." But once they start playing, they're like, "Holy crap, this is like Dark Souls level kind of difficult," you know? and usually, I mean, the response is good. We had a couple of rage quits because they didn't expect that level of difficulty, but it's still funny. I mean, the overall this sort of surprised that wow, this game is really difficult. It's really a challenge. Has been positive overall. It's funny.
How do you even read the words bullet hell and think it's casual?
I mean, it's quite obvious there.
Like bullet
even
hell
on the
is
trailer.
the opposite of casual. Like,
Exactly.
How do you
It's the opposite of casual.
I can't
But
even.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably the style, the art style that makes them think it's might be
And
casual.
we get the funniest reactions from people playing against the shaman,
The boss
the
boss
boss
of the
battles
game.
in our games, because it's an old lady and she's wrecking you, and it's an old lady with a cane. It's insane, and people love her and hate her at the same time.
Those comments are actually taken from the reviews that.
Yes.
So if you want to check him out, you can
can
check
see
it
it
out
now.
in the page, in the store page from Otem's Defiance, and you can see the reviews. They're exactly that.
Does the game have like difficulty levels?
No.
No,
No,
right.
they don't.
It does have a progressive curve like any game, and you get time to adapt to the controllers and learn them, but we're a bit merciless on the on the difficulty.
Because Hyper Light Drifter, the game that you've been playing recently,
Yeah.
the developer have been getting feedback that the game is too hard.
Yeah.
And I think even the Dark Souls developers have been talking about like putting in an easy mode kind of thing. Like, will you cave? Will you cave if people start asking for like a difficulty setting or something?
Wow, that's a very hard question to ask. Honestly, yeah, no.
That's the big controversial question right now, because these two games, Hyper Light Drifter and Dark Souls 3, released very closely. And people are asking around that question because I, for myself, I'm very bad at really, really hard games, mostly because I don't have the time. And for example, I was listening to a video the other day, and they were saying that, hey, regarding Bloodborne, there are people who really want to get into the story and explore Yarham, and it's too hard, it's unapproachable. Like, can we get a story-driven mode, an easy mode? But wouldn't that change the essence of the game?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't feel frightened all the time that you're going to die, wouldn't the settings lose their charm and their immersion? So yes, I think it's something worth exploring, because it's a new question that's being raised now in the industry. But right now, as for Otem's Defiance, we really like the curve we designed. So stick to it, and you will be rewarded.
It is best to play with a controller.
Of course.
And it's best to play with a controller. Please play with a controller.
But if I can beat it, I know that people can beat it. The thing is, it's easy to learn the controls. It's easy to manage how to, do the things that you need to survive.
Yeah.
It just gets harder and harder and harder. That's all. But it's manageable.
So with this kind of game, the level design is the one that's like, I would say, the soul of the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I'd say both the level design and the enemies, the ring gods are the main
because
characters.
there's only one enemy, right?
No, there are plenty. There are there are 16 different
the
enemies.
No, I mean,
with-
like each level there's only one.
Oh, no, you
17.
fight with plenty of them. I mean, you get to fight with 17 or 15 or 13 from, depending on the level where you are.
So in one level there's one guy to focus on, right? In each
There,
level.
you got plenty. You have you're on the ring, and at least 3 enemies will fall at the same time. Once you
Right.
defeat one, and the next one falls.
Right,
And there's a level of strategy of where you can, should I kill this one that is easy to kill, considering that the next one that's gonna fall is probably harder, or should I?
Right.
You need to strategize a little bit about what enemy you kill first, knowing which one might come next.
The game mechanics are simple, but strategies come up. Just
Yeah.
you have to think your way through it.
Especially because you have to decipher all the very different attack patterns from every ring of them. That's just a thing of trial and error. We don't put any tutorials on how to defeat them. You basically die a lot just to find out, okay, I shouldn't stand here when he's doing this, or that sort of thing.
What's your philosophy going into when you designing a level?
That's up to you.
Okay, first, the first thing you gotta have when designing levels is the assets to make that level. For example, in our case, on the later levels, we have spikes, we have mini platforms, we have stationary platforms, moving platforms, and walls of various heights. So you get your empty level, and you gotta think first, at what point has the player reached into your game, and how difficult you want to make it, and what do you want that player to learn but that moment. For example, you want them to dash a lot, to do a lot of horizontal movement, you want them to jump a lot. Are you going to throw a certain type of enemy that has a certain behavior that it's going to require the player to do certain things? And after you kind of think about that, you start building the level with the assets you previously had, which makes everything easier than creating new assets out of nowhere. And thus you have your options limited, and it boosts your creativity when designing the level. And then you gotta test it a lot and make sure that you have stayed true to that initial commitment you kind of wrote anywhere, of making the player practice with certain behaviors, certain mechanics, and stay true to it. And so it also needs to fit in the greater scheme of the game and the point where the player has reached up to that point.
Right, that's really interesting. What about the controls? How did you guys... because in this kind of game, the feel the player needs to have is very important, right? How did you guys started designing that?
Well, I can answer that. There's two factors that were very influential in the controller settings of Otem's Defiance. Well, the first one, the basic one, was just plain old testing. I mean, we settled with a controller that most people have, which is the Xbox 360 or the Xbox One controller, and we decided to give mainly support to that because most PC players do that. You have one, but and then we on the path convention, on some of the beta keys that we gave out to some closed testers and etc. One of the main things we asked was, how do you feel with the controllers? How if you're playing with a gamepad, does the controller feel tight enough? Do you need a different sort of mechanic, or do you like the mapping of this button? And just by regular feedback, we got a lot of changes put into that. And the second thing, and I think this is quite peculiar of the game, we didn't use the physics engine from Unity. I mean, we do use it on certain parts of the game for particles and that sort of thing, but most of the movements of the character are fully hard-coded because we wanted to have the most extreme control of how the character moves depending on how you use the controller. So that allows us to increase the difficulty of the game without compromising the feel of the controller, because we know it's going to be tight. It's going to be...
even before testing, if you're there, designing the controls for the first time, you got to think a lot about the feel in terms of gravity. How long the player takes to jump, how high it jumps, and how fast it falls. And it seems simple, it's just a jump, but no, you really have to design mathematically that jump, the gravity, the timing. It seems really dumb, it's just a jump, but you have to test it by yourself over and over again until you feel it just right, because it's really different jumping high and falling hard and fast. For example, Mega Man. You remember the Mega Man games? Mega Man falls super fast.
Oh yeah.
Or having like a lighter fall, even gliding. There are so many options, both when going up and going down. And you gotta test with it in a mathematical and an artistic way, so it feels right, and you get the tight controls everybody loves.
Yeah.
Which one came first for you guys? Was it the levels or the controls?
I'd say the levels, and the controllers were evolved through that. I mean...
Yeah, it was a bit both things at the same time, but first we didn't have the obstacles, like the walls, the spikes, and the mini platforms. We only had the big platforms. It was really simple. So when we included the walls, then the stuff changed, because now you had vertical obstacles, and we had to tweak the controllers a lot for that.
Did you change the controls to fit the level, or did you more or less both ways? Maybe you feel okay, I like this jump, maybe this wall should be shorter, those kind of things.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, both ways. Right. So you modify the controls to fit the game, and then the game you modify it again to make it more harder or more complex, and then you modify the controls again, and then on and on and on.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
Yeah, this can be seen in many video games. I have this really cool movement. Now we have the double jump. But now that I have the double jump, people could jump over this wall, and I don't want that to happen. So I'll just raise the wall. And yeah, it happens a lot.
Right. So let's go a little bit into the business side, the one that nobody likes.
The dark side.
Yeah. The dark side. When did you guys started marketing this game?
When what?
When we started marketing. I'd say since the green light, we started. I mean, because of course you need a lot of votes to get greenlit on Steam, and I remember that our first marketing was quite furtive in that sense. We started going to forums and asking to other developers to check out the game and etc. We didn't have a big campaign or paid thing. It was mostly just us tweeting and basically going to every outlet that we could and try to get the game known to all sources that we could. And now, recently, now that we launched, we're contacting mostly YouTubers and other and bloggers as well, such as yourself, to to get the word known about the game. Well, so
yeah, for indie games starting out there, it's a thing about levels. First, you obviously going to have a prototype, and the end user doesn't like prototypes. Maybe maybe if they're interested in development, they will like it. But most users who just consume, that they don't care about prototypes. So at that stage, you could try reaching out to the development community, and that's a way of marketing because they're players too.
Right.
And when your product grows into something more, say, commercial, a prettier thing to show, you can go to events, to indie development events, and then some regular gamers will go there. They will see your prettier than a prototype game. And then when you finally have a beautiful product, you can go full-blown marketing with it. Because you want to make sure that you show something that people's going to like and not something that people's going to say, no, I don't care. And then in the future, they will not care about it, you know?
Yeah. Also, a funny thing happened because back in our home country, the words got spread way faster. I mean, because probably because we're Venezuelans and we're like trying to make it work outside Venezuela, even though we still have people that are there and are struggling with the situation and are still able to deliver a quality game like us. So I think that sort of gave, at least within Venezuelan game developer circles, helped us gain a lot of popularity because they really liked the game. They were really like, wow, you guys did a really good job here. That's amazing. So proud and etc. And that sort of feel really helped us, at least back in our home country.
Great. How many % of the budget do you think you use for marketing?
For now, it was actually
low. I mean.
Yeah, quite low.
Actually, quite low. I would say
Less than 10%.
Way less than 5%.
Less than
So far.
So far.
I mean, that might change now that we
let's put it at less than 7%.
Yeah, but that's up until now. We launched 3 days ago,
Right.
so it's going to change now.
So after making this game and dealing with the dark side of the business side,
Yes.
what did you learn, and what would be like a couple of advice would you give to like people who's just starting out?
Okay, so hold on. So I want to correct you there. We are not done at all. we are still learning. We are still going through the process. We just released a couple of days ago, and actually the business part is now the most important one. Right? So,
but still.
I might get back to you on that answer in about I don't know, so 3 months or so. But what I can give you right now is that what have we learned is tough. I gotta tell you that. Yeah, we're creative people, so we have to dwell into this unknown world for us at the beginning. So we're much more rounded developers at the moment. Yeah. My advice would be to, if you really believe in your project, because when you really trust what you're doing and really believe, it shows in your character, it shows in your voice and the way you portray yourself, and that goes through the angel investor. So yeah, also business-wise, that's how you get money thrown your way.
Well,
I would say, my advice would say to be greedy with your resources. And obviously that's not just money, but your time, your effort, your skills. Yes, this is another way of saying do something small, start small, but think it on another way, like manage your resources, be greedy with them, because you don't really have them at the beginning. And even big studios need to save up on money, because we live in this really hard world to develop and to launch games. It's really hard to ship a game. So manage your resources well.
Greedy doesn't mean stingy.
Yeah.
We're being greedy with ourselves, but we have to, when we have to pay, we pay. So
yeah, I mean, not to collaborators and that sort of thing.
Yes, of course.
So internally, we just try to save as many resources as we can.
For any indie developer studio right now, I would say, manage your resources very, very well. So, because even if you have 10 times as money as we have, you could get lost into a lot of stuff that you don't need.
Yeah.
Like, don't hire a person to give you massages at the offices, and don't go having brunches for everybody every day just because you got investment. Don't do that. We never did.
No unlimited snacks, no free flow soft drinks and beers.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, we
pay it with our own salaries.
Yeah, and another thing, my advice, and this is a bit more from the technical perspective to any programmers or anybody into development itself right now. I'd say when you schedule something, or when you think that you're going to take certain time to do something, always double it or triple it, because it's never enough. We have this way of not calculating well how much time something will take. Like and never like make it public until you're like truly certain that you will be able to deliver something at the point where you're gonna deliver it. And yeah, I think it's do not underestimate the work. I think the main advice is do not underestimate the work that takes to make a video game. It's really hard. It takes all your effort and all your abilities to push it through.
It takes a lot of time and effort.
Yeah. It's
the best job in the world.
It's amazing.
We love it. We love it. That's why we can spend as much time in it as we have.
Yeah.
So we're nearing the end. Just a couple more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Then I'll let you guys go.
No, that's fine.
We like you.
Thank you. I like you guys too. I would say you guys are probably the most enjoyable interview so far.
Oh, thank you.
So
It's this thing.
Yeah, it's on.
So what would you say was the biggest obstacle into finishing the game?
Finishing the game. Well, we could say
Obstacle.
yeah. Both.
Okay,
Right now, I'm thinking.
we can all give you a short
Yeah,
answer.
sure one. Yeah.
Right now, I don't know. I'm just thinking this weird analogy where when the final career project, when you're about to graduate and you have to deliver the final career project, and it seems like it never ends, and it's like this exponential curve that never reaches zero. It's I don't know how to define it, but it's like this invisible enemy, this kind of ghost that appears at the end of a project, and it seems like it's never going to end. And for me, that was the biggest obstacle.
Yeah.
And I still can really define it. It's like some ethereal thing.
Yeah, I think it's that sensation of you're so close to finish it, but there's still so much to do and so little time to do it, but still you push through into that. But the sensation is quite like time slows down and you don't get to the end.
I think there's a logical or philosophical explanation or tale about this. Have you ever heard of the Achilles against the turtle? They say Achilles can run half the length, and then half again, and then half again, and then half again, and then it reaches 99.9999999% of the length, but it doesn't really get there because there's always one little step there. So it's been really hard. That part is really hard because you never actually feel like
they're getting there.
Like the product is absolutely finished or with everything that you wanted to have. So having that I'm trying to find a word for it. I don't want to say a bad word. Sorry.
Yeah, it tends to curse a lot.
The courage just to go and say, okay.
You can curse on this show, basically.
Huh?
Yeah, you go.
Huh?
You can curse on this show. He said,
okay,
don't encourage him.
You have to have the balls to say, okay, we have a product that is likable and is finished. It's not all that we want it to be. Like Juan said before, we really want to expand on this. So if people like it, we absolutely will go forward. But yeah, it's that having that courage of going, yeah, man, let's go for this. This absolutely, this is it. This goes.
Yeah.
So
and
I agree with Adolfo on this one.
Yeah, I would add another big challenge was problem with communications with working with people overseas, but not this doesn't usually happen in other cases, because most countries will have like a good internet connection or anything. But due to everything that's going on in Venezuela, all the power outages, the really bad internet connection, or the inability to be able to send our developers material or stuff in physical form. I think that's one of the biggest challenges. I mean, the music for the game, most of the time we had to work with placeholders and everything, because we were still waiting for our musician to be able to get
stable connection.
Yeah, stable connection just to send it. And with the animations, it was the same thing. So yeah, I mean that's a personal one. That's a personal challenge.
Right. So last question.
Un segundito.
What are your future? What are your future plans, like in the short term? Are you guys gonna be updating the game, or like?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Is it adding more content, DLC, or what?
Most likely. No, we haven't discussed really DLC.
Right now, it all depends on the players.
Yeah.
If they want more, we will give them more. But yeah, we released 3 days ago, and we're still, looking out for people's reactions. And depending on what the public says, we definitely launch something else.
There's a couple things coming regardless.
Regardless,
there's a couple of things coming soon regardless, but it all depends on whether people enjoy it as much as we have, or like it at all.
Right. Awesome. So you guys launched 3 days ago, but I'm sure the fear is still kind of there, right?
Yeah, a little bit. That never goes away.
So yeah, thank you very much. That's a wrap.
All right. Thank you.
Tell the good people where can they find you guys, like on Twitter, on.
Oh yes, at Hyperberry Games is our Twitter handle. On Facebook, we're also Hyperberry Games. You can log into the our website, otemsdefiance.com, or you can just look for us on Steam, Otem's Defiance. It's quite there.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys, for spending time with me. It was really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Take care.
So yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.